He might be a little bald and have a unique way of walking, but let's face it, his wisdom and humor are what's really going to shine. So let's give a warm welcome to the one and only Dr. Mike McEntire.
Yes. I thought we couldn't have him else until later. So he's a great.
Thank you, Heather. That was fantastic. And a good 80% of that is true. So just a little bit about myself. I saw that Heather wrote a great little bio of me with more stuff than I knew about myself in that handout there. When I speak in front of people, I do like to address why I walk a little funny. So the reason I walk a little funny is because most of my legs are paralyzed and they're filled with bars and plates. So that's from a rock climbing accident a long time ago. I do okay with it. You can't tell I walk funny if I take small steps, but I stumble and I fall sometimes. If I'm trying to stand too much, that's what happens. Well, I am so glad to be here today. Thank you, Heather, for that great introduction. Thank you. Actually, what I had her say was even more mean than that. But she said everybody would be mad at her if she said that. So she made it nice. Thank you. Today, and by the way, big congratulations to all of you for coming out here today and wanting to improve yourself, wanting to improve your community. So today, what I'll be speaking about is how to find greater peace and happiness in life. And by the way, at the end, I'll save some time for questions and answers, and your questions can be on anything related to mental health. It does not have to be about what I'm speaking about today. So today, we're going to be finding out what brings greater peace and happiness, what works, what doesn't work, and how to get more of it. So first of all, what doesn't work? So I actually took this picture. You can see this is right by Bosa Donuts here in Payson. And, well, the problem is companies try and convince us that their products will bring happiness. And most of you seem like a pretty wise crowd. Most of you probably already know that this isn't true. There is no product, not even, I won't mention the name of this company, I don't want them to sue me or come after me. But there is, this company sells every single product that is available, and I can promise you, they don't sell anything that's going to bring happiness. And in fact, what we know is that money in general and all sorts of things can't bring happiness. And that's actually a good thing. So it's actually really nice that money can't bring happiness. And the reason is because if money could bring happiness, then people like you and me who are not incredibly rich, we couldn't have as much of it as we want. But since money can't bring happiness, we, our children, those we care about, can have as much happiness as anybody else. And that's actually a really wonderful thing. So that's what doesn't bring happiness. Real short on that, you guys already look pretty smart. I'd go on longer than that if I didn't think you already knew that. So what does bring happiness? So I'm going to talk about Thomas Insel just for a second. Right? So Thomas Insel, he was the director of the NIMH for about 13 years. And the NIMH, that's the government's branch that takes care of everything related to mental health and helping people in the United States be happier. And as he was the director of it, he noticed that mental health and happiness in the United States was on a steep and steady downturn during his tenure as president. And he, like most people, he decided to change things a little bit, see if that worked. And so they did, and they changed things, and still, steady, steep downturn of mental health and happiness in the United States. And now, in statistics, there's always little blips here and there, but this wasn't a little blip, this was steady. And so he realized, after trying to change things a few times, he's an honest guy, and he said, here I am, I'm spending billions of the government's dollars, the taxpayers' dollars every year, creating new programs, developing new medications, funding research, and none of it is working. In fact, it's going the opposite direction. So being an honest person, he said, rightly so, I should quit. And that's what he did. So he quit his position there as director, and he said, I am going to go find out what really works. What is the problem, and what can we do about it? So he started looking up a bunch of old friends and actually going to finding some new people too, to try and find out what really works. And he encountered an old friend that was doing a program, and that was working, and he said to his friend, what's your secret? And this friend said, it's the 3 Ps. The more that people have of the 3 Ps, the happier they are, the more they're enjoying life, the better their marriages are, just the better in general that they feel. And Thomas Insel, so he took this information, he said, okay, that's good, and he kept going around, and the more he looked at research, the more he looked at programs, the more he saw the same thing. The more people have of these 3 Ps, the better they're doing in life, the more they're enjoying life. So the question is what are the 3 Ps? People, place, and purpose. And this is actually what I'm going to be talking about today. What we mean by having people, place, and purpose, and how you can use this to have greater happiness, peace, and better mental health in your life. The interesting thing about this when Thomas Insel, when he was out and was looking at these programs and looking at the research, all pointing in the same direction, is that he noticed that it wasn't something new. What it was, the 3 Ps, people, place, and purpose, was actually old wisdom that we had just gotten away from, that we had just kind of abandoned. And now speaking of old wisdom, anybody recognize what is it? It's a wonderful life, very nice. It's a wonderful life. And this movie is so great because it's doing that, saying it's teaching people place and purpose. Now we think of George as the main character, and he is the main character. But what most people don't know is, or most people don't realize at least, is that Mary, his wife, is the hero of the story. Because during the whole movie, she's trying to teach him what really matters, and like most husbands, he won't listen. So an angel has to intervene. And the awesome thing about Mary is she's trying to teach it by both what she's doing by example and what she's saying. Unfortunately, George is slow to catch on, so he might understand her predicament. So this is a frame from almost the end of the movie. Clarence is the angel, for those of you who don't know the movie. Clarence is the angel who writes in this card that says, remember that the most important thing in life is friends. Yeah. So I'm going to start out again by talking about people, and we'll talk about place and purpose in just a second. So like I said, Thomas Insel, he was going around, and he was looking at other research. He just kept finding research after research, program after program, pointing in the same direction. And this is actually, so this 90-year-old Harvard study actually began in 1938. And they followed people throughout their lives. It's actually still going on. They're following their children and grandchildren now. And what they were looking for is what makes people healthy and happy. And the number one thing that they found was that if you want to be healthy and happy in life, make sure that you are developing meaningful relationships. And that's what we mean when we talk about people and the people, place, and purpose, is having deep, meaningful relationships. So moving people from acquaintances to friends to deep, meaningful relationships. And the more that we have of those, the better that people feel, the happier they are. One of the nice things that can be a red flag for us that tells us that we don't have enough deep, meaningful relationships is if we're seeking things to kind of fill a void in our life. And we don't know, most of the time we don't know what it is. We can sense that something's wrong. We can sense that we're missing something. So we try and fill it. And like this says right here, it calls them bad coping behaviors. Sometimes we call them maladaptive coping behaviors. And what that means is that we're trying to fix something by doing something that won't actually work. And these are some of the most common ones here. So if you find yourself feeling just like something's missing in your life, and you find yourself doing more and more of these things, that might be a red flag for you that says, you know what? What I really need is more deep, meaningful relationships in my life. And this is most common. This is unfortunately very common as people retire because their work previously provided a place where they had good friends, where they had meaningful relationships. It also very often gave them purpose in life. And then when they retire, they lose a lot of that, not knowing that work is actually beneficial for them. So what do you do to combat that if you're in that situation? Well, there's a lot of wonderful things. And one of the best things is to make sure that you have a schedule, that every day I'm going to do something meaningful, and I'm going to make some more friends or deepen current relationships. That I'm going to be out of my house, I'm going to be going somewhere with somebody that I want to develop a more meaningful relationship with, and I'm going to do something that is meaningful in my life. So Sonia, and I wish I had 4 hours just to talk about Sonia Lubomirski. So Sonia Lubomirski, she's been doing happiness research for almost 40 years now. And this is her latest book. She's actually wrote a number of all good books. And this latest book, she's a co-author on it. And she points to the exact same thing. Having deep, meaningful relationships is what makes people healthier, happier, and just loving life more. And in her most latest research, she found out that what makes people feel happy, the happiest people are the people who feel loved. So the question is after she and others realized that, is if the happiest people are those who feel loved, well, what makes a person feel loved? And our natural instinct is to say, well, if I want to feel loved, I need other people to do things for me that make me feel loved. That's our natural thought. That's what we would think would make us feel loved. And what she found is, well, that works a little bit. But what really makes people feel loved is when they make other people feel loved. More than other people doing things for them, when they do other things for other people, they feel the greatest amount of love and therefore increase their happiness. In this book, she comes with, she writes 5 mindsets, 5 things to change in your life to help you feel more loved. We're going to come back at the end to 2 of those, so keep her name in mind. We are going to come back to that. And if you want more information, again, oh man, I wish I had 4 hours, but if you gave me 4 hours, I'd ask for another 4 hours just to talk about her work. We'll come back to it again. So the question, finishing up, people, what should you ask yourself? How many meaningful relationships do I have? Do I feel like I could use more? Try using some of these techniques. What can I do to increase my meaningful relationships? And is there anybody else I could help develop their more meaningful relationships? All right, the next person, again, Mary here. So talking about, we're not going to spend too much time on place because this one's actually rather simple. What we mean by place is, do you have somewhere where you feel loved and you feel like you belong? For most people, that's their home, and hopefully that is your home. Of the 3, people, place, and purpose, if you're missing this one, this is the first one to work on. Make sure that you have that, a place where you feel loved, where you feel like you belong, where you feel safe. Now again, for most people, hopefully they have their home, and that's one. But you can actually, and one is enough actually, one is plenty. But if you want even greater greater peace, it's wonderful to actually have a few more. And one of the most common places that people find that, again, more places where they feel loved, they feel like they belong, is often, it can be your work, it can be your church, or another place that you volunteer. So like for me, I have 3 places. I have my home, definitely feel safe and look like I belong there. I have my work, Ponderosa Family Care, absolutely feel like I belong there. And then I also have my church. So with 3 of them, it brings a little bit of happiness, more than if you just had one. Again though, if you have one is plenty. And last one, so purpose. This is Mary here. She's, if you don't know the movie, you gotta watch the movie. She takes this old, run-down house and she just makes it the most beautiful, wonderful place there was. Again, teaching by example, trying to teach by example to George. What really matters in life, what's really important. So having purpose, the reason that this is so important is because for everybody in our lives, we all have pain. We have an emotional pain, we have physical pain, a lot of times both. And pain is actually okay, as long as we feel like there's a purpose in our lives. But if we don't have a purpose, that pain just feels absolutely insurmountable. And our body and our brain magnifies, again, either that emotional or physical pain when we don't feel like we have a purpose or meaning in our life. Let me give you an example that probably a lot of you are familiar with. How many of you in here have been pregnant? So, can you imagine, for pregnancy, you got the first 3 months of nausea. For my wife and a lot of other women, it's 8.5 months of nausea. And then you spend the last 3 months, everything hurts, nothing is comfortable, you can't even sleep, and then 2 days of an incredible amount of pain. And who in the world would do that? And especially do it another time, right? My wife did it 4 times. But why do people do it? There's a purpose to it. Now I know some people complain about pregnancy, but can you imagine the same pains of pregnancy, but without a baby? There would be a lot more complaining. No one would do it. I know my wife wouldn't do it for $1 million if there was no baby up there. So having that purpose, having that meaning behind our pain makes it okay. Let me give you one more example. So like I said, a lot of my legs are paralyzed, filled with a bunch of bars. So when I had that rock climbing accident 15 years ago, so I fell 140 feet. And then I was a paraplegic, paralyzed from the waist down. And I spent 3 months in the hospital. The first month, just trying to keep me alive. And the second 2 months, I kept going to Home Depot, picking up hardware, and screwing that together. And then, so after that 3 months, I went back home. And in my house, we have no bedrooms downstairs. So I had to sleep in the living room because I was in a wheelchair, so I couldn't get upstairs. And every morning, at 2 or 3 a.m., I'd wake up and just start crying. My life was, I was miserable. I couldn't do anything that I wanted to do anymore. Debbie said it's okay to cry. So our 2 oldest were boys, and my policy was, whenever they wanted to play soccer, baseball, whatever it was, I would stop what I was doing and play. And we would play until they were done. And I wasn't going to play soccer anymore. No more rock climbing, no more kayaking, nothing. So I would start 2 or 3 a.m. 7 a.m. would come around, and I'd say, all right, Mike, pull it together. Amber and the kids are going to wake up, put a smile on, dry your tears. And that went on for about 3 weeks. And then some leaders from our church came over, and they said, Mike, we need someone to teach our early morning Bible study for high school students. So every morning, 15 students from the high school would come over, they'd do a Bible study for about an hour, and the teacher was leaving, they needed a new teacher, and they asked me to do that. My first thought was, no way. I was still, my wife still had to help me get dressed sometimes. I just barely learned how to drive a car. And on top of that, what would these students think of a guy in a wheelchair? But I said, okay, I'll do it, I'll try it. I'll see how it goes. And I did it for about 2 weeks, and then everything changed. I was still paralyzed, still an incredible amount of pain. But it didn't matter anymore. It was okay. And that's how it is with all the pains that we have in life. If we feel like we have a purpose, like there's meaning in our life, all those pains are okay. But if we don't feel like we have a purpose and meaning in our life, then every tiny little pain gets magnified until we just absolutely hate it. We don't know what to do. So here's what I'm going to have you do. I want you to actually write down the purpose and meaning in life in just a second here. And as you do that, before I have you do that, I want to give you one warning. Make sure that you don't put your purposes to get through something. Okay? I don't say my purpose is to get through cancer, or get through this problem, get through that. That's not your purpose. The reason you want to get through this is because of your purpose. The reason you want to get through cancer is because you want to be there for your kids, your grandkids. You want to help people out. So here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to take out a pen and a paper. If you don't have a pen and a paper, just take out your phone and write an email to yourself. What's that? Oh, perfect. You already have everybody has pen and paper. Heather, I think he's so prepared. You didn't even know I was going to come do that. So put up pen and paper. What is my purpose or meaning in life? And you can have more than one. Absolutely. I've got at least 10. Let's just take 2 minutes. Like, what is your purpose or your meaning? Very personal. You don't have to share it, but if you wouldn't mind doing me a favor, I would actually love to hear a few of them. And the reason is because, well, first of all, I'm curious. But second of all, there's a lot of people have a hard time with this. And your ideas, what you wrote for your purpose or meaning, may help inspire somebody else as to what might be their meaning or purpose. And there's nothing wrong with copying somebody else. This isn't 5th grade. You can copy everybody else's meaning. So would anybody mind sharing their purpose or meaning? Let's hear it.
She's my spirit animal.
People that know me know me. My purpose is to put a smile on someone else's face and to make them feel good about themselves for something.
Love it. Thank you so much. Very inspiring. Yes, absolutely. We have another lady right here with a flowery shirt. Oh man, I wish we had a microphone for you. Those were beautiful. Oh man, those were so good. I love every one of them. Caring for other people, volunteering. Thank you. All right, we have 2 people at this table right here. Is the only person there?
No, we're going to get over our speaking thing.
Oh, love it. Tell, for those of you who didn't hear, tell people God bless you so they can hear it at least once. I love it. Go ahead. Oh, Heather has a mic. Oh, that would be, thank you. Man, Heather is awesome.
You do the statement, I'll do the question.
Oh, hold on, if they don't think it's on. Okay, we have to yell. And if it's short, I'll remember it. I can repeat it.
To grow into the best version of myself and reach my potential, to develop my gifts and give back to the world using these gifts.
Oh,
love
man, that was awesome. I loved it. That was absolutely beautiful. I wish I could, basically self-development. In fact, I know not everybody would hear. That was awesome. Thank you. Oh, I absolutely, that is fantastic. So to shine as a child of God, to love others with my whole heart. That was short, so I can remember it. I'm not saying it has to be short. Those long ones are fantastic. Those were absolutely. Anybody else? Let's see what we got going.
I'm like, hello, over here.
Yeah, go
Am I
ahead.
supposed to be loud? My purpose in life, to be a light in the world, to be there for others, to care deeply and include everyone, to be thankful, to be happy, to be a friend, and to include myself.
Oh, thank you so much. And so again, if you hear one that you like, copy it. And the black shirt in the back. You have to speak real loud. Stand up. I think that was a little
Yeah.
bit.
To serve and have an impact on others so that they live their best life.
Oh, love it. To serve and have an impact on others. We want to say. Oh, go ahead. Yes.
To help other seniors and to say, this is my plan to pay it forward. So somebody will be there for me.
Love it. Thank you. Thank you so much. That was really loud. Everybody, that was fantastic. All right, let's hear one more. I mean, I'd love to. Anybody else want to share theirs? If you don't, I understand. That is fantastic. Very brief and very encompasses so many things. Thank you, Heather. And thank you so much for those of you willing to share. And the reason that purposes are so important is because they help us guide our lives. And again, they help make pain a little less painful, but also they can help us direct our lives so that we know the direction that we want to go. Without a guide, without a goal, life just seems to drift. So here's what I'd like you to do. So with purpose, find some things that align with your values that you can do every day. Find, a lot of you mentioned volunteering. That is absolutely fantastic. Find something that you can do most days of the week that aligns with your purpose. Find some, if you can, find a job. If you can't find a job, then even make your current job more in line with your values. Like somebody said, put a smile on everybody's face, right? There is raised your hand. I mean, even if you're a cashier at Walmart, and your purpose isn't to sell Walmart products, but your purpose is to put a smile on people's faces, you do that as a cashier. So all of these things, the more that you make your life in line with your values, in line with your purpose and meaning, the happier you're going to be, the more peace that you can have. All right, last slide. Want to use some homework? Okay. And here's what I'd like you to do. So just two things. Number one, continue to develop your purpose or your meaning in life. Find what is important to you. Find the direction that you want your life to go. And number two, here's what I'd like you to do today. Remember I said we're going to come back and talk about so many liberal marriages. So this is from her book. These are two things that she says, and I'll quickly describe them. So here's what I'd like you to do today. So during breaks or during lunch, find some time to develop a deeper, meaningful relationship with somebody here. And you can do that easily, thank you, by asking meaningful, deep questions with radical curiosity. That's what Sonia Lubimarski's one of her things was, having radical curiosity. If you want to, just Google that and it will come up with some good questions. The number 2 thing I'd like you to do is make sure that as you are listening to them, that you are, and this is again from Sonia Lubimarski, listening to learn. Because most of us when we talk, unfortunately, we're listening to apply. And we want to listen to learn. In fact, Sonia Lubimarski, she says, listen like there's going to be a test on it tomorrow. Like you're going to have to recall all those things that you said. Well, thank you very much, and that's all I have.
Hey, we got this working.
Any mental health question you want. I am also a specialist in ice cream flavors.
Can we hear some more about that?
Butter pecan is the
Yes.
My name is Joe Thomas. I am the founder of the No Excuses Revolution and co-founder of Intentions Over Excuses podcast. And I'm interested to hear what you think on where do you feel like women have failed themselves when it comes to our mental health the most?
Well, and you said your name was Joe?
Yes.
Hey, Joe. Well, thank you, Joe. So where do I feel that women have failed themselves the most? And I'm guessing that you're asking that because you probably already know that in terms of mental health, the statistics show that women are doing a little bit worse. Probably already, I'm guessing
Yes,
that's right.
definitely.
So why, and I would hate to say where have women failed themselves, because sometimes, and I'm guessing that you may not have meant it directly like putting the blame on them, but more the question is where is it that they're going wrong? Is that kind of what you meant? Or what could be
Yes,
better?
yeah.
Okay. So, because I don't think women have necessarily failed themselves, but one of the things that we know is that women have been unfortunately advertised too heavily.
Yes.
Women are the primary spenders of the home, and so when advertisements come out, they market things that are for children and for women direct. So men, they know they're not going to get them to take their kid to the dentist no matter what, right? They're not going to get their women are going to be the people who buy Christmas presents, right? Women are going to be almost all of this, they're the ones who are doing the grocery shopping. They're the ones who are doing all of those things. And so they know that if they advertise to women, that they're going to get the majority of the money. And so one of the problems is that advertisements have been trying to trick women into thinking that all of these other things will bring happiness that don't. And so, and I certainly wouldn't place the blame on women, because anybody who's been advertised too heavily, as much as women are advertised to, they would also be susceptible to the same thing. And advertisers say, oh man, here's if I can trick them, because that's what all advertisers are trying to get us to think, that their product will bring happiness. Their vacation spot, remember, women pick the vacation spots too most of the time. All of those things will bring happiness, and if they can get their money, then they've got it all, as opposed to giving it to them. Does that help?
Yes, thank
Thanks
you.
a lot, Joe.
Amazon does it to me all the time.
And they get, unfortunately, they get the advertisements free for kids, because they want to do that.
How do you maintain your peace and happiness when you are going through so much pain and healing? What was your strength? What did you pull the most from?
Well, what's your name first of all?
My name is Judy.
Judy, nice to meet you. So what did I pull my string from? Well, first of all, my wife. My wife was a huge help to me. And the second of all, of course, my church was a huge support to me. Having faith in God was extremely important to me. And then, of course, making sure that, so I spent those first 3 weeks feeling pretty miserable. And then I realized, you know what, Mike? You got to find something else to do. And luckily, at that time, it was assumed that I would be completely paralyzed for the rest of my life. And luckily, that changed a bit for me, so my legs were, I can't run, I can't play soccer, but that helped too, is that faith in God and also getting to use my legs a little bit. Anybody else?
Anybody else have a question? Michelle?
So you talked a lot about the author, you talked about